You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast. www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
Whenever someone on television or elsewhere makes an overly broad generalization about Islamic cultures, societies, nations like, say, Saudi Arabia, the nation Donald Trump visited over the weekend, a nation where women are enslaved, gays are beheaded, and petty crime is punished with amputations, a nation that has used its oil wealth to push its murderously conservative brand of Islam all over the world. Whenever someone does that, makes a kind of broad generalization about Islam, someone else, a good lefty usually, will immediately point to Indonesia, the most populous Muslim nation on earth and an officially secular state, as proof that the Muslim world, 1.6 billion people, is vast and not a monolith. And the Muslim world, you know what, it is vast and it isn't a monolith, and there are millions and millions of liberal and progressive Muslims out there, devout, lapsed, and ex, who support the separation of church and state, the rights of women, the right to free speech, including blasphemous speech, which is, of course, a highly subjective fucking judgment call, so best leave sorting that blasphemy shit out to a higher and most likely imaginary power. But it looks like we're going to have to stop citing Indonesia as the counterexample to Saudi Arabia. Because in March, two gay men, a 23-year-old and his 20-year-old boyfriend, were arrested in Indonesia after their neighbors, who had been spying on them for weeks or months, burst into their apartment. Neighborhood vigilantes suspected them of being gay, reported The Guardian, and set out to catch them having sex. Mobile phone footage that circulated online and forms part of the evidence against the men shows them naked and visibly distressed as one apparently calls for help on his cell phone. The second man is repeatedly pushed by another man who is preventing the couple from leaving the room. These gay men, this couple in Indonesia, are unlucky enough to live in Aceh province. These two men, boys really, were dragged into court, handcuffed to each other, and found guilty of being in a gay relationship. And now, just in the last couple of days, both were sentenced to a public caning. That caning is scheduled for today, for Tuesday, while you're listening to this. Both of these guys, these young men, will be subjected to 85 blows. Prosecutors asked for 80. The judges sentenced them to 85. Caning is torture. And both of these men are likely to go into shock, and both will be scarred physically and emotionally for life. Aceh has a special legal status allowing it to insert Sharia bylaws into the criminal code, reports BuzzFeed. In the province, ordinances criminalizing drinking, alcohol, sex outside of marriage, and gay sex can be enforced against Muslims and non-Muslims. Also criminalized in Aceh, immodestly dressed women. But all of Indonesia, reports the Asia Times, is slouching towards theocracy. A governor in another province was thrown into prison for 2 years for bumbling a quote from the Quran, accused of blasphemy. Last night, while I was reading about those two young gay men in Aceh province, police in Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, raided a gay sauna and gym and arrested 141 men. Last month, police raided a party in a hotel and 14 gay men were arrested. In secular Indonesia, where homosexuality isn't technically illegal outside of Aceh province, where it is illegal, but it could soon be illegal everywhere in Indonesia because there is a movement to criminalize gay sex throughout Indonesia, and it's gathering steam. All of Indonesia could go the way of Aceh province. It has to be said, and I'm going to say it now, that the rise of religious extremism isn't just happening in the Muslim world. Extremism, religious and otherwise, is on the rise fucking everywhere. The Russian state under Putin has embraced and empowered the Russian Orthodox Church. Hindu extremism is on the rise in India. Buddhist extremists in Buddhist majority Myanmar are brutally persecuting the Muslim minority in that country. Christian extremists are a threat here in the United States, but we call our Christian terrorists pro-life hardliners, and we give dominionists, those are people who want to impose a Christian theocracy in the United States, people who are at home beating off right now to The Handmaid's Tale. We give dominionists here reality shows once they've lost track of just how many kids they've had. So it's not just Islam, but it's also Islam. The The fear of being lumped in with anti-Muslim bigots like Pam Geller and Milo Yiannopoulos and Donald Trump, the President of the United States, and Steve Bannon leads many on the left to hesitate to condemn these kinds of anti-gay attacks and the particular theology and interpretations employed to justify them. And this allows Trump to get away with styling himself as a defender of LGBT people. Remember when he said he'd protect us from foreign ideologies? While at the same time packing his administration with the enemies of LGBT equality and LGBT existence. Now, right-wing bigots, they attack Islam to promote xenophobia. We, on the left, we have to find a way to critique Islam and critique it fearlessly in order to dismantle homophobia, not promote xenophobia, and also dismantle sex phobia and misogyny and transphobia. You could say, and I guess I will say, that Islam is now where Christianity was 100 years ago, where Christianity was for 2 entire millennia before that. We can't forget what was done to Alan Turing by Christian authorities, or what was done to Oscar Wilde, or what was done to Richard von Hohenberg, a Swiss nobleman who was burned at the stake with his male lover in 1482, or Katharina Hetzeldorfer, who lived and dressed as a man and was executed by drowning in 1477 for the crime of having sex with 2 women. But we also can't forget, and we must condemn, and we must speak out against what was done to those 2 young men in Indonesia today. And we have to hold religious leaders and religious traditions accountable, whatever they are, for the violence they inspire and justify. All right, coming up today on the regular edition of the Savage Lovecast, tons of your questions, tons of my answers. And on the Magnum subscription edition, which you can subscribe to at savagelovecast.com, I interview Nathaniel Frank, author of Awakening, How Gays and Lesbians Brought Marriage Equality to America. All that coming up on today's show. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Boll and Branch, luxury, affordable, fair trade certified sheets. Get $50 off a set of sheets plus free shipping by going to bollandbranch.com and entering SAVAGE. Today's Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Me Undies. High quality, super comfortable, good looking undies. Get 20% off your first order when you go to meundies.com/savage. Today's episode is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron delivers all fresh, high-quality ingredients and recipes you need to create delicious home-cooked meals. Get your first 3 meals for free by going to blueapron.com/savage.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 28-year-old heterosexual woman in the Midwest, and I'm in an open relationship with a 37-year-old man. We've been seeing each other now for about 2 months, and we know that this is not a long-term relationship because we're both moving in a month. We love to discuss extremely kinky fantasies while we are fucking that we would not ever want to be a part of our sex life in actuality. We've recently introduced talk of glory holes and the 2 of us blowing several men with elements of gratuitous cum play. He contacted me the other day with something that he was very nervous about and kind of reluctant to tell me. And that thing was that he wants to suck a cock at a glory hole in real life. I am open to the idea and I'm open to participating, but, and here's the kicker, only with strict condom usage. He says that he doesn't care about this, but the last few times we've had sex, he's been completely focused on emptying condoms from the glory hole onto himself and into my mouth. He says that he knows once I get to the glory hole, I'll be so into it that I will not care about condoms. We had plans to go about a week ago, and I packed a purse full of said condoms so I could be prepared. He got stuck at work and contacted me an hour after he was supposed to pick me up to say if I was still interested, he would rush to come get me. In that hour, I began to feel more afraid at both the legality and health repercussions of this glory hole visit, and I expressed that to him, to which he replied, "Well, I'm glad you're telling me this now rather than pussying out when we were there and making me really angry at you for wasting my time." I don't feel like this is a healthy response, and I responded that I will be taking a step back from the relationship. My question is, did I lead him on? I'm feeling guilty, and like my GGG mentality caused me to be too open to this initially, when I should have been able to realize this was not my thing. I want to be a better partner in the future and do not want to lead people on towards the kink precipice only to back away and, for lack of a better term, chicken out. What do you think? How could I have handled this better?
You can be open to an idea. You can be open to helping someone fulfill a particular fantasy of theirs and still have second thoughts about it. have limits that you articulated in advance. You say that you were open to the idea, but only with strict condom usage. And then he countered with, all right, I guess we can respect your boundaries. We can use condoms, but I know in the moment when it's so hot and sexy, you will want me to dump a condom full of some stranger's jizz in a glory hole into your mouth. That was him indicating that he had no respect for your boundaries. That was perhaps the moment where you did something wrong. And the wrong thing you did was not to lead this guy on. The wrong thing that you did was not to, at that moment, say, yeah, no, I'm not going there with you. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where in the moment, in the heat of the moment, you are pressuring me to renegotiate or abandon my safe sex requirements, or my requirement for a condom, or my desire not to have some strangers come in a glory hole dumped in my mouth. So no, I won't be going. That's where you made a mistake. You were completely GGG. There's nothing about being GGG that says you can't have limits or boundaries or rule things out or not be into something for your own reasons. Good in bed. G, that's the first G. Giving of pleasure sometimes without an expectation of immediate return. Sometimes you do for your sex partner. And game for anything, which you clearly were, but game for anything, as has always been the stated case in the GGG thing, game for anything within reason. And what he was asking you to do was not reasonable. And he then was unreasonable in other ways when you expressed your reservations, when you began to have second thoughts, and he blew up at you. That is not what a GGG is his responsibility to be GGG for you as well. That's not what a GG person should do or would do. That's what an asshole would do. An asshole who has no respect for you or your boundaries or your safety or your comfort or your emotional security across the board. So I'm glad this is over. I'm glad you took a step back from this. You did nothing wrong. He did everything wrong. The odds that he will find another woman who wants to watch him suck cock in a glory hole, even with a condom on it, and then maybe dump the cum on his body or her body, are really slim. He fucked himself out of an opportunity to fulfill 90% of his fantasy. And good luck to him finding somebody else who is as good giving and game for anything within reason as you are.
Hey, Dan, a mid-20s bro in the West Coast. I have a question about manscaping. All right. So I don't generally shave my pubes, but I do like to shave my chest and my armpits. Right. And so the thing is, like, some of my friends I've talked to about shaving chest, and they're like, oh, that's gay. And they don't mean, I don't think in a homosexual sense. They mean in like a sissy way, which I know it's not right to refer to things as gay in that way. I'm just trying to be real here. So, okay, so they say that. And then I had an ex-girlfriend who said it was weird when I shaved my chest and that she would try to get used to it. So that kind of put me off. I felt self-conscious and I stopped shaving my chest, and then we broke up. And then so recently I started shaving it again because, I mean, I lift weights and I like to look at my body without hair on it. And I don't know how it is. It's just something I like. But I feel kind of self-conscious about it. And then now, especially with the armpits, I'm wondering about that because I like to wear tight-fitting T-shirts. And if I'm in class or something and I raise my hand, I don't want my pit hairs to show. So, and also I feel like armpit hair is gross. But again, like some of my friends are like, bro, that's kind of gay. I'm like, come on, like. So anyways, I'm just trying to get your opinion on this matter and see what you and the tech savvy at-risk use and maybe any other callers who hear this think.
There are a few things you can say in response to that's kind of gay. You can say, and so what if it is? You can also tell the truth. You can say, I lift weights and I like to see the definition. I like to see the gains that I'm making, and they're obscured or blurred by the hair. Everyone knows that people who spend a lot of time in the gym lifting weights like to look at themselves, like to look at their bodies, even straight guys. And so that's not a big reveal. The last thing you could say, which you are unlikely to say, is perhaps that there's something sensuous about this. It turns you on to be hairless from the waist up, that it is partially erotic. And that's where I think your hesitation and reservations and being confronted about this come in, because there's some sort of sex shaming going on here. All that said, all you have to do is own it. I shave my body because I like to shave my body. I like to have no chest hair, and I don't like to have pit hair. It is a choice and a preference. My body, my choice. And if I want to take my pit hair out for my own reasons, I'm gonna. And you can think there's something gay about it. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay. Not that there's anything wrong with there being something gay about this. And then you don't have to do it. But you don't get to tell me what I do with my pits. Dude, you're a straight dude. You're a weightlifter. Own it. Be like a man about it. Not to gender this, and I reject that kind of essentialism, but be the man that you seem to obviously think that you are about this, and just own your choices. This is how you intend to style your body. And if someone doesn't like it, she doesn't have to fuck you. If your friends don't like it, they don't have to do it. But you may come in for some ribbing about it and just like let it roll off your fucking back. Stop letting this eat away at you. What other people want you to do with your body is irrelevant. It's your body. You can do what you want with it for your own reasons. And then take pictures and send them to us at the Savage Lovecast, because 2 of the tech-savvy at-risk would like to see this body that you're working on so hard. And finally, dude, I gotta say, you're calling into an advice show hosted by a gay guy with this problem. You know, you shave your chest, and some people say that's kind of gay, and you're worried about what other people think. I am actually gay, and there are people who don't think that's good. There are people who think that I should be thrown off of towers. The leader of Chechnya thinks my family should murder me. There are people in this country who think it should be legal to discriminate against me in housing and employment, that I shouldn't be allowed to be married, shouldn't be allowed to have a kid. And you know what I do? I'm gay anyway. I don't care what all those people think. I'm going to do what I want to do and be who I am. So don't worry about being kind of gay. You should worry about being a little gayer like me. Do what you want without giving a shit about what other people think about what you want to do. You want to shave your chest? Some people think that's kind of gay. Be as brave as an actual gay guy and do it anyway. People ask me all the time how to spice up their sex lives, and you can try out all sorts of wacky, kinky things, but you know what else you can do? Get some nice sheets on that bed. Boll & Branch has them, and you really ought to get them. What makes them unique is each sheet is crafted from 100% organic cotton. That means Boll & Branch sheets not only feel incredible, they also look amazing. And since Boll & Branch sells exclusively online, you don't pay that expensive retail markup. That's half the price for twice the quality. You will love these sheets. Try them for 30 nights and see for yourself. If you're not impressed, return them for a full refund. Anyone who sleeps on Boll & Branch sheets loves them. That's why they have thousands of 5-star reviews. Go to bollandbranch.com today and you'll get $50 off your first set of sheets plus free shipping when you use the promo code SAVAGE. That's $50 off plus free shipping right now at bollandbranch.com, spelled BOLL and branch.com, promo code SAVAGE.
Hey, Dan. I'm a mid-20s queer woman. I live in Chicago, which is awesome. I'm calling with a question about feeling gaslighted by a straight woman. Here's the situation. So the place where I work, there's another female employee there, and for the whole time we've been working together, which is probably since about last summer, so several months, there's been a constant sort of flirtatious undercurrent going on between us, mostly initiated by her initially, things like making specific kinds of eye contact and then doing the double take, passing each other in the hallway, making eye contact, looking away, looking back, doing the body scan, that sexy eye contact thing. And one time I asked her early on in our working relationship if she had plans for the upcoming weekend, and she said, oh, if somebody asks me on a date, I'll have plans. Things that were obviously flirtatious, things like that. It's not all in my head that she was flirting with me. We've hung out outside of work a couple of times, both one-on-one and with other coworkers, just for fun. Most recently, just this afternoon, we went to see a movie together. I have had a growing interest and attraction to her and decided maybe it's time to sort of bring this flirtation to the next level. So I invited her to a movie thinking there would be a nice romantic environment. Well, throughout the movie, we had been sort of like sharing the armrest and like bumping elbows up and that kind of thing. And partway through the movie, I asked if I could hold hands. And she said, oh, I don't hold hands. And We talked afterward. I said, I'm sorry if I made things awkward. I asked her if I had misinterpreted anything, and she said, oh, well, I'm straight. So my question is, like, what the hell happened? I'm not so full of myself that I project flirtatiousness onto people. Like, she was definitely flirting with me. I just feel really confused and really hurt, and I feel like maybe she was playing with my mind. You know, she's not bi-curious or hetero-flexible. She has no intention of exploring. Why would she have been dropping hints to me all along and then consenting to hang out one-on-one in these sort of romantic settings? I feel like I'm questioning my judgment, but I don't think I have to. I think it's on her, and I don't know. I'm just very confused. I feel like I was just played by a straight girl.
I don't want to make your day worse. It sounds like you're already having kind of a bad day with all of this by jumping down your throat. And later on in your call, you don't use this term, but at the beginning of your call, you use and abuse this term that I wish people would stop using and abusing, which is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a kind of abuse, a kind of emotional abuse where someone manipulates someone else into questioning their own sanity and attempts to drive that person crazy by getting them to question their own sanity. That wasn't what happened to you. You mixed signals. You use proper terms later on to describe what happened to you, that she was playing games, that she was being inscrutable, she was leading you on. Yeah, she did all of that, but it's not gaslighting. You have not been subjected to a campaign of emotional abuse by a partner who's attempting to get you to question your own sanity. Some idiot straight girl led you to believe she might be interested in you when that wasn't true, perhaps, and you feel badly used. You feel like you got played. You feel like she was toying with you, and that makes you angry. And it can make you angry, and it should make you angry, but you weren't gaslit. So what was going on with her? Why was she sending you all these signals when she had no intention of exploring? I don't know. She liked the attention. Maybe she was interested. Maybe she still is interested, and she is still struggling to find her way out of the closet. And with you, she walked right up to that line and then balked at the last minute. And maybe one day in the future, when she's out and bi or lesbian identified, she will look back on that moment and feel bad about it. But it'll be something that she did that helped her come to terms with her sexuality. It'll be a precipice that she walked up to a few times in a few different circumstances before finally gathering together the courage to take the leap. I don't know. Only the future knows. And unless you are still in this woman's life in the future, you're probably never going to know. All you got to tell yourself is, yeah, that was stupid. You got played by maybe a straight girl, maybe a closet case, and it was humiliating and unpleasant. And when the takeaway from an experience like that isn't, this is unforgivable, that this is abusive, that this is blah, 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 what you take away from an experience like that is, I don't treat people that way myself, because that's not a way I would like to be treated. That is the way that I was just treated that I did not fucking like. And so I don't treat people that way. I don't play games. I don't send mixed signals. And I tell the truth. And I'm authentic with others so that I don't give them false hopes or mislead them or play them and then make them feel like idiots. So I'm sorry this happened to you in the grand scheme of terrible things that can happen to a queer person or a straight person or anybody else. It's mortifying and humiliating, but in the end, pretty small beans. And in a week or two, you will be over it. If the whole world had X-ray vision and could gaze at your underpants, would you be okay with that? Would you feel good about that right now? No, not if you aren't wearing MeUndies. MeUndies are seriously soft, hip, cute undies delivered right to your door. MeUndies are designed in the USA and made from sustainably sourced micromodal, a fabric 3 times softer than cotton. MeUndies softer than soft luxe underpants come in an ever-changing selection of classic colors, bold shapes, and adventurous patterns so you can tailor your undies to your own personal style. And you can save time and money each month with a monthly subscription, which also makes a truly delightful gift. If you're not ready for a subscription, that's okay. You can still save. That's because MeUndies is offering you 20% off your first pair. Just use our special URL, MeUndies.com/savage, and get 20% off that first pair of MeUndies. So you can feel good about your underpants all the time. Once again, that's MeUndies.com/savage. MeUndies.com/savage.
Hey, Dan, 51-year-old gay single father on the East Coast. My son is 15. I got him from the foster care system a couple of years ago, adopted him about 6 months ago. And my son was kicked out of his home by his born-again Christian Nazi family. And he was homeless for a period and supported himself doing sex work when he went into the foster system. Anyway, I just want to give you a little background. He's going to go visit my mother in a few weeks. He's going to go for the weekend. And I'm going to be home alone for the first time in like a year. So I want to get laid while he's gone. So after he went to bed tonight, I signed on to Grindr, and I found his profile, and I freaked out and I blocked him really fast. But now I've got all these questions. Number one, I saw he said that he's 19. Which is possible. People would believe that. He's a big kid. He's almost 6 foot and he's pretty broad. But still, is this something gay teens, do they go on Grindr? I mean, I was having sex when I was 15, so it's not like I think his having sex is terrible. And I also don't want to be like shaming and working on being sex positive with him. So I feel like he shouldn't be on Grindr, but can I have a conversation with him about that? Because in order to do that, I have to talk about that I was on Grindr, and that's weird, right? And even though I blocked him, I mean, he's had his phone since I got it, like 6 months ago. I haven't been on in a year. I'm just wondering if he's seen my profile. I didn't even think about that. And even though I blocked him, he's got some gay male friends. And I'm wondering if they see my profile. Can I not go on Grindr and scruff and all those things anymore? I don't know what to do. I'm totally freaked out here. So, and I don't have any gay male friends that have teenage gay sons. I don't know who to talk to. Anyway, do you have any ideas?
Every once in a while you open the newspaper or magazine, a straight one, the New York Times even has written these kinds of stories about the disappearance of the gay bars. Gay bars and what few lesbian bars there ever were all across the country are closing. And a lot of gay bars are closing, people say, because of the apps, that the apps are the new gay bar. The apps are where a lot of people socialize, but also where people go to meet people and maybe hook up and find a partner, find a date, find a partner for the evening or a partner for the rest of their lives. I can't imagine that you would be at all hesitant about going into a gay bar for a drink and being seen in the gay bar by friends of your sons, or your son seeing you coming out of that gay bar, walking by the gay bar down the street, a gay bar he's not old enough to get into because he's not 21, and seeing you through the large plate glass windows that define a lot of gay bars in our modern era. You wouldn't feel self-conscious about that, even if on some level your son knew that you were in that gay bar, maybe that night, that weekend, to get laid or to be open to the possibility of getting laid or meeting a partner. So if apps are the new gay bars, if apps are where people go instead of gay bars to socialize or to be open to possibility or to find sex, just like people go to gay bars to socialize, to be open to possibility to find sex, I don't think you should be ashamed that your son knows that you're on Grindr or Scruff or Tinder or anything else. I also know that your son, just as he is too young to go into a gay bar, is technically too young to go on Grindr. There's an 18-year-old age limit for Grindr. Your son is 3 years too young to be on Grindr. And you should have a conversation with your son about that. A conversation where you aren't paralyzed by shame because you were on Grindr too. You're 51 years old, you're single, the apps are the new bars, and you are in the bar. And you have nothing to be ashamed of. And you are a sexual person with desires and agency, just as your son obviously is a sexual person with desire and agency. Like you, at 15, I was sexually active. Not everything I did at 15 and 16 and 17 was advisable. Not all of it was without risk, but I survived. I got through it. I had some great experiences. I had some shitty experiences, kind of like the sex I was having in my 20s. The sex I was having in my 20s, I think I had less shitty experiences because of some of the things I learned when I was sexually active in my mid and late teens. It would have really helped me at that age to have a parent that I could talk to about that stuff. I'm not faulting my parents. I think if I had been gay in 15 or 16 and out now, that my parents would have been the kind of parents of a gay kid that I could have gone to. But at 15, when I was 15 in 1979, 1980, I couldn't risk going to my parents. So I was flying blind into dating and sex. Doesn't sound like your son is flying blind necessarily into dating and sex. If he's engaged in survival prostitution after his shitty fucking Nazi evangelical awful parents abandon him to the streets, where a lot of kids in his position end up engaged in survival prostitution at great risk, he probably knows his way around. But you now, as his legal parent, have a responsibility to make sure that he does. You have a responsibility to pull him aside and say, you aren't supposed to be on Grindr. I could have reported your account. They would have deleted your account. You could have opened another one. It's probably how that would have went. So I didn't report your account, but we need to have a conversation about safety. You have a conversation about not engaging in survival prostitution. I'm not saying that that's why you're on Grindr now, but perhaps it's why you were on Grindr before, and you don't need to be doing that on Grindr now. And then suss him out about the numbers of partners that he's having right now via Grindr. Make sure he's being safe, using condoms. And you should talk to him and his physician or his pediatrician about whether he needs to get on PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, to protect him from HIV infection. Of course, PrEP is not going to protect him, particularly if he stops using condoms, from syphilis, from gonorrhea, from other sexually transmitted infections. Those are the kinds of long, drawn-out, awkward conversations you need to have with your son. Conversations that I wish somebody had had with me when I was 15 years old. The first person who had that kind of conversation with me when I was 15 years old was a boyfriend. And that conversation, when you're having it with someone who is trying to get in your pants, of course, not a conversation about PrEP because PrEP wasn't a thing. AIDS wasn't a thing at that point. Not the best person to get that kind of information and advice from. You, dad, a better person to get that kind of information and advice from. You need to step up. You need to have this combo. It is going to be awkward because you are going to be the sexually active parent who is on Grindr and had every right to be, and he's going to be the sexually active son, teenager, who is on Grindr and shouldn't be. You also need to have a conversation with him about predators. I'm sure if he survived survival prostitution, that he knows a thing or two about predators. But you need to have a conversation with him about what he's doing and with whom he's doing it. And also not just about his safety. He's on Grindr telling people that he's 19. There are adult gay men who are in jail because they went home with someone from Grindr or picked somebody up on an app who claimed to be 19 or 18 when they were 14 or 15 or 16, below the age of consent. So it's not just his safety, his security, what's right for him. It's also, is he doing right by others? Because if he's misleading adult gay men, and you two happen to live in a place where if that relationship was discovered, the fact that your son misrepresented himself wouldn't get the other guy off the hook, then he's not treating the people that he's meeting via Grindr right either. And he has a responsibility to his sex partners, just as his sex partners have a responsibility to him. And again, I want to emphasize here at the end, you have a right to be on Grindr. You are an adult. Grindr is the new gay bar. Scruff, the new gay bar. These are social hangouts as well as pickup joints. And you shouldn't be embarrassed at your age about being seen in one any more than you would be embarrassed being seen in or coming out of a gay bar. Cooking, if you enjoy that sort of thing, is really fun, but sometimes you just don't want to deal with the planning and the shopping. Let Blue Apron take care of it for you. Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone, even dolts in the kitchen like me. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-proportioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Choose from a variety of new recipes each week, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you will never get bored. Customize your recipes each week based on your preferences. Blue Apron has several delivery options, so you can choose what fits your needs. And there's no weekly commitment, so you only get deliveries when you want them. It's a great way to decompress while still eating well. Here are a couple of items on the menu coming up. Spiced cod and summer squash cakes with dates and baby greens, meatballs and tomato sauce with asparagus, and creamy rice. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/savage. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/savage. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Hi, Dan. 32-year-old cisgendered male, New York. My girlfriend slept with her ex-boyfriend not too long ago in January, and we've been trying to work it out. We decided to stay on together through April and finish out our lease and work on a relationship. At the end, we decided to try to make it work and stay together. I asked her recently what her feelings are for this guy, and it sounds like she's kind of in love with him too, or just in love with him. But she wants to stay with me. I'm having a hard time with it. The guy's following her on Instagram. She's following him. He's liking, pictures of time that we spend together in our home. We've been together for 4 years. We're a good team, and we love each other, and there's a lot of respect there. And I've asked her to put an end to the relationship, and I don't appreciate really the way that she's handling it. It seems unnecessarily deferential to this guy because she says that down the road someday she'd maybe like to be friends, but I don't think I could ever be friends with the guy, which, obviously puts a point on our relationship, meaning it's going to outlast it. And it's hard to understand how to handle this situation.
So you're in New York. You made that clear in your call. Very New York dimension to your problem where you and your girlfriend decided to stay together because you had a lease and you're going to stay together at least through your lease, which is a very New York sort of relationship arrangement. So we're talking to you, you're on the street. Yeah. So other listeners, if there's street sounds or a car horn, it's because we're talking to somebody walking down the street in New York. It was very telling at the top of your call where you called her your ex-girlfriend and then had to back up and correct yourself.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time, and it kind of slipped out. I actually was quite a bit. I don't know. I'm very nervous talking on the phone about this, and I was trying to figure out how to frame it and lead into it. What I meant was when I called, a lot of this has to do with the ex-boyfriend, and It's really
the ex-boyfriend that
heavily on me.
The ex-boyfriend that she says she's still in love with, and she fucked, right?
Yes.
And
and to be fair, I said that she was in love with her. Those are my words. And I kind of feel like I maybe baited her a little bit with that, and she didn't correct me. But
what does she say?
She doesn't say that she's in love with him.
What does she say? She says she has feelings for him?
Yeah, she says she has feelings for him, and they're still alive, and she's trying to put them behind her, and she's trying to choose me.
But given her druthers, would she want to be in a situation where she could have you both? Has that been put on the table?
Yes, and she dismissed that immediately, and that was.
Oh, wait a minute! You put that on the table, and she dismissed it. You put maybe you could have us both on the table with the person who already fucked him behind your back, who already did have you both.
I'm trying to figure out where she's coming, what she wants, where she's coming from. She doesn't want to have an open relationship. I've asked her about that. If she wants to kind of open this relationship up, I don't think that I could be comfortable with her having a relationship with him. And as a matter of fact, I know I can't be comfortable.
And she says she doesn't want an open relationship either.
She doesn't want an open relationship.
But she fucked this guy.
Either. She did fuck this guy.
So she did, for a few minutes, have an open relationship, and so did you, even though you didn't know about it or consent to it.
Correct.
But what she really wants is monogamy. And you know what? I'm not bagging on your girlfriend. I have said a million times that if you're with somebody for 50 years and you only cheat once or twice, you were good at monogamy. So I'm not saying that it's not okay for her to want monogamy and to have an affair or fuck up and still want monogamy after that. So I'm not calling her a hypocrite.
Right.
But she did open the relationship. And sometimes you have to look at people's actions and think and assess whether their actions are telling you what they really want. Because some people have this monogamy zap on their head that the culture puts there, that we're all supposed to say we want monogamy, whether we want that or not. Because that's what good people want. We all want to be good people, so we all want monogamy. So even people who cheat habitually, even people who are serial monogamous, who every few years dump the person they with to go get somebody new, will tell you that what they want is monogamy, even though in their actions what you see is a desire for new experiences, new relationships, new sex partners that can't be reconciled with the monogamous ideal, which used to be, as Esther Perel says, one person for life, and now it means one person at a time.
Right.
And she couldn't even do the one person at a time thing. So I think you should press her on that some more, and she needs to think about that some more. Whether she's saying she wants monogamy because monogamy is what she wants, and sometimes people screw up, it's still what they want, and that's valid. Or if she's saying she wants monogamy because that's what she's supposed to want.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
But what do you want? What do you want?
I want her, and
And what kind of prices of admission are you willing to pay to have her?
Right. Well, I've asked her to obviously end communicating with him, and
she hasn't.
And she has.
Not. No.
Cut off the conversation.
No. She's still interacting with him to a limited degree on Instagram. She hasn't blocked.
Correct.
She hasn't blocked him.
Right.
Or unfollowed him.
Correct. And that's like it's a contentious point for me right now, and I feel because that's a simple one for me. It's like if you slip up and you want to make it right, just you cut that person out of your life.
That's how she demonstrates to you that she is putting you first, that she prioritizes her relationship with you, that she's willing to make this sacrifice for you and to be with you.
Right.
And I'm a little suspicious of the ongoing interaction on Instagram because you say that she's not in communication with him anymore, but they're in some sort of contact, and Instagram has a DM feature. It is a direct message feature.
I know.
And presumably you're not digging through her phone at night.
No, I'm not. And I'm trying my best to trust her, but...
Right. If I were you, I would be sorely tempted to dig through her phone at night and see what kind of conversations they may or may not be having on Instagram.
Yeah.
Or elsewhere.
Yeah.
And the onus really is on the cheater in a circumstance like this to demonstrate to the person that they cheated on, who they're trying to reestablish trust with and be reinvested with their trust, to be blameless and faultless and transparent, at least for a time.
I agree.
And if she can't do that for you, then again, it brings me back to thinking about, well, what are her actions telling us? She fucked another dude. She fucked her ex-boyfriend. She still has some sort of feelings for him. And yet she says she wants monogamy and she wants you. And to be with you, you've asked her to cut off contact with this guy. That she's not willing to do and hasn't done. So what are her actions telling us?
Well, I think she would certainly disagree with that to some extent. Because I think that she is trying to act. She doesn't think that Instagram is a thing. That's, you know what I mean? Like, which I disagree with. Like this dude having access to her life, which is out on display.
Instagram is a thing.
And it really makes me crazy.
Yeah. And this guy, and this guy has already in a way burst into your life. This guy has already had access to parts of your life through her that he was not supposed to have access, like her pussy. He had access to that. Not that her pussy is your possession. She is not something you own, but he literally inserted himself between you two.
Yes.
And I'm sorry.
I mean, it's another thing. It's like, she doesn't think that he has blame in this shit, you know? And that's like, I don't know, not to make it all about this guy. I know it's about her and it's about me, but she would argue that she is cutting off communications and she has made steps, and I believe that she has, and I trust her in that respect. I think that Instagram is a thing. I don't think that I'm overestimating its importance. Like having that kind of access, like you just mentioned, it triggers me in a major way.
And it, you know, and I say this as somebody with, I think, 70,000 followers or whatever the fuck it is on Instagram myself. There's an intimacy to Instagram. You are in someone's life, in their apartment, in their house, along with them on dates, at the movies with them, at the gym with them. You are present in parts of their life and witness to parts of their life that used to be reserved for intimates. And so there's an intimacy to it. Even if you have millions of followers, there's an intimacy to it. And for your own sense of safety and to feel like you're her priority, she needs to not be intimate with this guy, to not be bringing him in, even at this remove, but not be bringing him into private spaces that, thanks to social media, aren't really that private anymore. But with this guy in particular, those boundaries need to be established and clear. And he needs to not be, having this access to her all the time that may be keeping his feelings for her alive, and vice versa. And if she's not willing to do that, like, even if she thinks it's irrational, even if she thinks it's arbitrary, when you've been cheated on, sometimes your partner has to accommodate your what could seem irrational or arbitrary insecurities. And them demonstrating that they're willing to accommodate those seemingly irrational or arbitrary insecurities is one of the ways they win your trust back. And that she's not willing to accommodate your understandable insecurity around his presence in her life and her imagination, I think that's a really bad sign. And I think you should insist.
Yeah.
And if she won't, well, I think you may have your answer there about who her priority really is, or what sacrifices she is or is not willing to make for you to earn back your trust. And the onus is on her to earn back your trust, particularly if monogamy is what she wants. If her idea of monogamy is cheating's okay, but honesty is not. If, it's okay to like slip up and cheat every once in a while, but an honest, open relationship isn't okay because she wants to be able to cheat, but she doesn't want to be cheated on, which is another kind of fuckery that's out there and hypocrisy that's out there. I don't want an open relationship because I don't want my partner sleeping around. I have had people say that to me who are cheating on their partners, where I've said to them, well, clearly you don't want to be in a monogamous relationship. You cheat all the time. Why not an open relationship? And they've looked me in the eye and said, well, I don't want my partner fucking around on me the way I'm fucking around on them. And you need to really have pointed, risk it all conversations with your girlfriend where you hammer away at this stuff to figure out where she actually is and what she actually wants.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in complete agreement with all of this. One of the things that she said to me is that she doesn't want to exact my frustrations on this person by blocking him and unfriending him, which I feel like I feel like that's bullshit, because like, you don't know if somebody is following you and you don't know if you're blocked unless you are actively, like, does that require a conversation? Like, hey man, I'm going to block you because I can't, like, I got to make this.
Oh my
right.
God. That requires a conversation that any sentient being would completely grok, I think, as the kids stop saying the minute they heard me say it. I'm blocking you because it makes my boyfriend uncomfortable that we're still in contact because I cheated on him with you. So you're blocked. And
am I out of line to ask for her to just do that? Like,
no, you are not out of line to ask for her to do that. That is completely, that's not irrational or arbitrary. That's understandable.
It's not crazy for her to say, I am going to have a conversation with him about that.
Yeah, she can have a conversation with him. She can say, look, listen, ex-boyfriend, I ran into you. We fucked. My current boyfriend doesn't want us to be in touch anymore. So I need to unfollow you, unfriend you, and block you. And, maybe in 5 or 10 years when I'm happily married and we have a couple of kids and everybody's secure, maybe then we can like be friends again, but probably not. Like, we shat the bed together and that's it. It's over. And we'll run into each other on the street every once in a while because it's New York fucking city. But so as not to lose the boyfriend I have now that I don't want to lose, you got to go. You got to be off my social media. And you know what? Social media didn't exist 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever.
I know.
And so they wouldn't have been able to be in touch like this anyway.
Anybody can be in touch anytime. It's like, is it one of those, I mean, not to analyze this too much, but it's a very much trust. But
right.
This triggers me.
And what social media does is constant touch. You're always in touch. You're always present in each other's lives, in each other's minds, in each other's imaginations. And you need him cut out of her life, cut out of her mind, cut out of her imagination, so he doesn't loom so large in yours. And if he continues to loom large in yours, it's going to be the end of your relationship. And if that's okay with her, look, if this guy continues to be such a presence in our lives, our relationship is going to end. It's going to collapse.
Yeah.
And if that's okay with her, if she would rather risk the collapse of your relationship than block this asshole on Instagram, you have your answer.
Right. Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you, Dan.
Hi, Dan. I'm calling about the woman in episode 551 with the ex-boyfriend who had become her friend with benefits and the friends who didn't get it. When I was in my mid-20s, I dated an older man. When we broke up, we then entered an almost 2-year-long fuck buddy relationship, friend with benefits relationship, and it was the best thing to ever happen to me. After we split, he became the best boyfriend I've almost ever had when he was no longer my boyfriend. Something about that label made us fight and quibble about where we were going, and taking the label away from it made it so much more fun. It taught me a ton about what being in a relationship meant. It taught me about maturity. It taught me about working out my differences and using out my words. In short, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me, and it made me more ready to meet the amazing guy that I'm with now. So tell our friends to screw it. Just keep doing what you're doing. It sounds awesome. Have a great time.
Hi, Dan. I'm calling in response to the guy who called because his grandmother was getting a lot of right-wing propaganda and giving her money to Trumpy organizations. But I just wanted to call because I had some good ideas. I thought he should subscribe his grandmother to a couple nice print magazines that are kind of more left-leaning, but generally easy to consume for someone that's, middle of the road or even Republican. But anyways, he should subscribe his grandmother to the print issues of Mother Jones magazine, and also Utney Reader's great. Anyways, good luck, Grandma.
Hi, I'm calling about the guy at the end of episode 551 who wants to frighten his grandmother. He kept asking if he was an asshole. I think he is. She's already being frightened by the right wing. She's almost certainly terrified by the process of losing her memory. What she needs from her grandchild is love, tenderness, a willingness to spend time with her without trying to persuade her to agree with his views. Maybe he can introduce her to his diverse group of friends. Just be nice to her.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Lovecast. If you want to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz. 206-302-2064. Be sure to check out Blabbermouth, the Stranger's weekly political podcast, where I sit in every week, or as often as I can. Just look for Blabbermouth from the Stranger on whatever podcast platforms you're using. And Hump, my porn film festival, is coming at you, or coming to you, or coming on you. Just go to humpfilmfest.com to check out locations and upcoming tour dates. And you can also go to humpfilmfest.com and click on submit to find out how you can make a film for Hump. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Follow our guest this week, Nathaniel Frank, on Twitter at NFrankResearch. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. We'll all be back at you next week with another installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thanks for downloading.